Osiris.
What's going on? It's your man, Isaac Sloan, here with another week of Inappropriate Happiness. And sitting to my right, and your right too, because you're not in front of us. You're listening to us.
That's right.
And you're listening to me. So to my right, she plays guitar. It's Karina Reichman.
Yo, these are the true statements. Isaac, Boogs, what the ever loving fuck is going on? Tell me. Truly, so, can somebody tell me what's going on?
All I know is that I was watching you play bass on a skateboard in front of some kids, and tomorrow night I'm going to be watching you play guitar in front of the whole nation when you're back in the 8G band on Late Night with Seth Meyers.
It's so shocking. You know, I thought I was going to have a chill week, Isaac. Turned into a week full of neuroses. Just kidding. It's fantastic. Yes. On a skateboard in front of some kids that Isaac is referring to, I played for... Here in New York, there is a most incredible group of people. They refer to themselves as the NYC Freaks, and they have been around for a long time, since the wetlands era. If that doesn't mean anything to you, you're going to have to Google wetlands preserved here. Quickly, it was a rock club in Tribeca, very important for the formation of Jam Universe and Jam Takeover in the 90s. Anyway... But I digress. The Freaks are incredible people, fervent about show going, much like we are, but I think they take it to a new level. They have a listserv where they talk to each other about show happenings, and they have had it going on since the 90s, I believe. And they have been my greatest supporters since day one.
Well, when people say that like jam music was pivotal for the internet and internet communities,
Sure.
This is a really good example, right?
I think it's a case study, right?
It's a case study. And I've actually thought a lot about this, that like at one point, I guess the internet wasn't so relegated to these different sects.
Sure.
And it was just one place. And then people sort of started these dedicated sections of the internet where people could talk about Fish and the Grateful Dead. You know, those are two sort of primary examples. I know like the Beatles and Bob Dylan were also up there, but I think the NYC Freaks, it's like a kind of early adopters to technology and used it for the purposes of letting each other know where shows were happening.
Pretty incredible and crafty and a wonderful thing, really, you know, and it's true. It's a very interesting point you make that, you know, there was a time where the internet was sort of this amorphous blob as opposed to a beautiful yet wildly frightening and wrought with complications and turmoil and subsections upon subsections of people bantering at all hours of the day and night about everything and nothing, wildly emboldened by the power of their keyboard, saying things to each other that they would never say in real life. But it's true, back in the day, right? Like, these things started somewhere, and they started slowly. And the NYC Freaks are definitely early adopters of the technology, and honestly, purveyors of such things. Because now, you know, there's Fantasy Tour, Fish Twitter. People are constantly in communication about all these things. But yeah, these guys, I mean, they still are going strong. And the first show I ever played with my band was something for the Freaks Action Network, which is a charity that they started, basically. And they just approached me. I was but a humble sideman at the time for Marco Benevento. I had no songs of my own. I had no business being a front person of my own thing, you know, and whatever. But they approached me and were like, would you do something for our event? And I was like, yes, I will. And what I did was brought, you know, my now longtime bandmates, Chris Corsico and Adam November, onto their stage, and we just completely improvised for however long it was, 90 minutes or whatever. And that is how my band started. And people seemed to dig it, and we dug it, and we loved doing it. And we just, you know, for the next year and a half, played a bunch of shows and improvised the entire thing. Like, I'm not talking, people, there was no A section. There was no B section. There were no covers. There were no jumping off points. There was nothing. You get on stage and you are put in the position of having to pull out of your rear end absolutely everything for the next hour or several hours. So it was a pretty cerebral experience and a difficult thing to do, which I was reminded of this past Sunday in Red Hook, Brooklyn, as the Freaks have asked me to do a little, they call it Freaks Day Out. And this happens once in a while where they do an outdoor jamboree. And I thought, well, what better way to celebrate, so many years now with the support of these great folks, the Freaks. And it's really where it all started for my band. So had to do an all improv set with the fellas. And that's exactly what we did.
Well, it's an interesting kind of trajectory and history for you, like you've had this year, and I think I'm particularly thinking about the summer.
Sure.
With these, like, real breakout festival sets where people are walking by and seeing you like they would, any kind of recording artist that they'd go see at a festival. And you have this history of kind of doing this without a net, improv style foundation to your band that
Sure.
kind of started it all. And, now you have these tunes that you go out and play in a tight set that you're able to deliver and then, to strip it back again. And to, I was there at the show in Red Hook on Sunday and to be in the park with a bunch of, people who are eager to hear improvisational music and just go for it with your two dudes.
So fun. Such an amazing
really
thing. It's I would say a very untraditional way of starting your own band.
Yeah.
No,
I think it is
very strange and very different, most people start with a song. We went a year and a half without so much as thinking about writing a song, let alone actually doing it and releasing it and yada yada yada. And so I made that a very paramount thing that needed to happen come 2019, and boy has it happened. And now it's crazy to look back and just be like, wow, like this band used to be like MMW style, or God willing,
that's Medeski, Martin and Wood.
Medeski, Martin and Wood, thank you. Attempting to be MMW-esque, but heavier and crazier and more throbbing, in all the ways back then. And it's just crazy to revisit that era with my bandmates who now play my tunes like mother. We're so focused on songwriting and playing songs and writing songs that are very much scripted. It's really fun to go off script with them and explore that other half of your brain.
Well, I remember when you played that Littlefield show, there was a tape of it online, and I remember just putting it on in the apartment just kind of casually, and you saying, "Oh, what's this? This sounds pretty cool." And I was like, "This is you. Like, you guys did this off the cuff."
It's like, we sound like that? That's crazy. Holy shit.
But,
Crazy thing.
I think this really, now that there's some of the lore behind this band put to tape on this episode of the podcast, it really introduces the next segment nicely.
Sure.
Karina and I were thinking that we would do something called Two Truths and a Jamband Lie, where you're all familiar with Two Truths and a Lie at home. There's 3 different statements given. 2 of them are true, 1 of them is a lie, and it's up to you, the listener, to decide which is the lie, and we will reveal what the lie was on next week's episode.
Honestly, really fantastic stuff. You might commonly seen this put into practice in the format of a classroom on the first day of school, or
for first or second graders,
or college orientation.
Right.
I remember it being used and me thinking it was the most bullshit, saccharine piece of shit thing that you could do, But now I've softened up a little bit, and let me tell you, Two Truths and a Jamband Lie is about to go off. And we are going to leave these unanswered until next week. So, without further ado, Isaac, do you want to kick us off with Two Truths and a Jamband Lie? What do you got?
I will go.
Please.
My first statement is that at a set break of a Fish concert, Paige McConnell walked up to me and handed me a T-shirt with Jerry Garcia's face on it. My second statement is that I sat down to dinner with Warren Haynes. And my third statement is that I interviewed Mickey Hart of the Grateful Dead with me entirely in blue face paint.
3 unbelievable statements. One of them is not true. Write to us. Let us know which one you think isn't true. I, for one, thought that was masterful.
Thank you. Karina, are you ready?
You know, Isaac, I think I'm ready. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm working up to it. Okay, here we go. I have been skiing with Michael Kang of the String Cheese Incident. I have sound checked on stage with the band Fish at Madison Square Garden. I love this. I'm loving this.
We have so many, like we could do this every episode.
This is really good. This is good stuff. I'm getting my last statement ready. I didn't think hard enough about it, but are you ready? I once rode the Metro North with Warren Haynes. Good stuff.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. You guys just marinate on that at home. Just marinate on that.
We want to know what you think we're lying about.
I need you to know where we're lying and where we're not lying, and you need to speculate on this for an entire week. So thank you, guys. Thank you. This is good stuff.
The next note we have down about our show today just says free association.
This is where we separate the men from the boys, Isaac. We got to go real cerebral on them. They're waiting for it. Who's free associating first?
I think you're going to free associate first.
Okay, great.
And I want you to free associate about open pastures.
Open pastures, great stuff. You know, for me, I'm not too fond of open pastures. I'm more fond of 800 square foot apartments and closed-in spaces. And I am, what's the opposite of somebody who doesn't like tight spaces? Or rather, what do you call somebody? Claustrophobic, right? I don't feel that way. And when I think of open pastures, I'm like, that's nice. That's great. Love when I drive by one in a car. It's wonderful for the cows roaming around. Wonderful for the people who value space and nature in that way. For me, I look at it and I'm like, you know what? I really wish I was in the heart of Manhattan right now.
You know, this is actually really true about you because I've been in a car with you and we've passed several sprawling, open, beautiful plots of land, and you never say anything about them. Like, you're never like, oh, we could put something here, or look at how beautiful that is,
right.
Or why don't we just get out and take a look? Never.
None of those 3 things would I ever say
You've
about
never
an open
reacted
pasture.
to open space.
Sometimes, you know, I look at an open space, an open pasture, and I think, that's just great. I'm so happy that some people really relish in this open pasture, but I could sort of care less about it, and I'm glad that it exists, but I just want to get back to the pavement of New York City. That's the real hot gossip about me. It's just true, you know? And then further examination, you know, I love nature. I appreciate nature. I love water. Water is what I love. I love the ocean. I love swimming pools. The water to me is very important. Trees, love them. Don't need to be near them. Don't need to take them in. Open pastures,
I hope the music fans listening are still with us because we've really moved away from jam band news.
Are you guys out there? Are you doing okay? Are you entertained? Have you disowned me as your friend?
Well, I was thinking I was with you the one and only time you camped, and that was at
Oh my God.
Super Bowl.
The Fish Festival in 2011 at Watkins Glen. Yes, we were in 10th and 11th grade, respectively.
Yep.
We camped in probably the most bougie, facile, and close to where the band plays way possible. We slummed it very little, and yet it was the first and last time I would ever even consider pitching a tent and putting myself in there.
I need to, if you're out there listening and you're thinking, that's ridiculous, Karina, you need to get into a tent and go see Acoustic Hookah in Ohio. Please call me because I need a friend like you because I'm dying to go do something like that. And I know no one who would indulge that request.
His name is Adam November. He plays guitar in my band. I got a whole situation for you, Isaac. We can go definitely do like the matchmaking of friendship where you just go into a tent and see Acoustic Hookah in an open pasture.
Thank you. No, I would really like that because I just feel like that's like kind of missing in my life.
I fall a little short in this category. I really fall a little short. I recognize it, and it's just a matter of fact. It's a wild thing. I have not changed in this regard. Not in even an iota.
You even wrote a song about it.
I even wrote a song about it. City kids don't walk on grass. Oh, no.
It opens and closes this podcast every week.
Every week you are subjected to my ramblings of how I don't pump gas. I don't walk on grass. I'll walk on grass, but yeah, I'm not going to lie to you, Isaac. I don't like it.
So that was Karina on Open Pastures.
That was good stuff, Isaac. That was good stuff. Do you get to do one, or is that overkill? I think you should do one. You should do one.
We could do it. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Quick little jam.
Isaac, you are going to free associate for the people listening, wherever they may be, on chairs.
Chairs. Okay, so this is a deep cut about me. During the pandemic, I got really interested in this thing called the Alexander Technique, which is a sort of mind-body practice.
Yes.
Where you do a lot of sitting on chairs. And it's a practice that's supposed to help you become more aware of your physical posture and how you use your body in space. And I got so deep into it, I was taking classes on the Alexander Technique like multiple times a day at one point.
You're absolutely right. It is very good that we remember that this was a time in life where you were commuting to that place often. But it's a thing that helps a lot of people in a lot of physical pain kind of reorient and become more aware of how they use their bodies. And it's also really popular with musicians. Big time.
And I think it actually has some value, and I learned a lot doing it. It is very intense. There's a lot of focus on how you're sitting, and the people who really practice it say that's part of the joy of it. And I think that's absolutely true. It was a little bit much for me.
Sure.
I gotta say.
And per your deep interest in this, I did a session at one point.
You did, yeah.
And you know what? I really enjoyed it.
It's kind of cool.
It was kind of cool. It didn't make me want to go back for more, but I'm very glad I tried it at that one juncture, and I can absolutely see how it helps people's alignment, and I totally understand the musician element of how it uncrinkles even the most crinkled of violin backs.
And it also kind of self-selects for an interesting group of people who teach it. So, like, I made a lot of friends learning the Alexander Technique. And I think it is the relationship to performance is a really kind of cool thing. It's like in the art world.
It elicits a cool kind of following of specifically artsy folk.
And like Julian Lodge and Scott Metzger, like guitar players, we really appreciate it a lot.
They're deep in it. So Isaac, what is more cult adjacent? The Alexander Technique or Fish the Band?
Well, that's interesting. Cult adjacent. Gosh. I would have to say Fish the Band.
I think you're right.
And I'll tell you why, because the Alexander Technique, I don't know. I actually don't know why. It just feels right.
It feels more widespread, I would say, and more but you got deeper on the Alexander Technique than I did, and I'm sure there's so much nuance within that, and lore, and a very sort of like a code of ethics amongst its practitioners and followers and whatnot, much like there is in the Fish community in all kinds of micro ways.
Wait, but there's like an officiating body. Like there's the American Society for the Alexander Technique, which like has accreditation for like a training program, and you can like go and teach it at a university.
But that to me feels more culty.
Kind of. Well, and I was also saying like fish, like I was thinking like people do find ways to professionalize in fish and teach it at universities. I have been a part of that.
Certainly. And I would like, here's the real question. Which sort of subsect emboldens an individual to kind of come and present themselves as a cult leader? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, are the people who are large and in charge at the Alexander Technique, are they like, you gotta get your friends involved in this, and if you sign up for 5 lessons, you can get 20 more?
No, there's a lot of similarity.
It's an interesting thing.
Which isn't to say that, I mean, both things have enormous value, and they can also be taken too far.
As can many, many things in this world.
But also I was thinking of the Cat Stevens song, Sitting.
Tell me more.
Well, I think it's funny that Cat Stevens has a song called Sitting. Like, I don't know. Like, that's just like a funny name for a song.
It's unbelievable. To have the idea to call your song Sitting is great. Great stuff. Isaac, that was a very fruitful free association.
Thank you. I think so, too. I mean, I opened up to the listeners about a part of my life, for sure. Which
we need more of, because I know y'all are printing up shirts that say, let iBoogs free associate right fucking now. Don't even kid yourselves. That is good stuff, Isaac. That is really good stuff. I think, I'd like to internally petition to do something like that every episode. I think that's good stuff. Really good stuff. And it breaks up from the monotony of Billy Strings taking over the world, which, by the way, is a phenomenal monotony. Love it. We will report on the man, the myth, the legend every week if we have to.
I watched 3 Billy String shows from the couch this weekend. I was like streaming everything on Nugs, and Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of this week, I just sat here and watched like full Billy Strings concerts.
Over and over and over.
So enjoyable.
Compelling stuff. Kid can play. That's what they say. When I look at somebody like Billy Strings play the guitar, to segue into something that I'm going to do tomorrow, I feel like we haven't...
We didn't really, I kind of like breezed over it.
So what's happening? So the juxtaposition between playing for the Freaks list in Brooklyn on Sunday with my band and improvising the entire thing for 90 minutes or whatever it was, followed by receiving a text message from Eric, the producer of Late Night with Seth Meyers, last night at 7:43 p.m. when I was finishing dinner with my dear friend Andy Bernstein. Head count, very important stuff. Andy Bernstein runs Head count. Head count. I hope you got out the vote today, people. This is one thing. This is important shit. Isaac and I voted. Our producer Marlo Shankweiler voted. We don't know anybody who didn't vote, so we hope that you exercised your fundamental right to get out there. Anyway, that was parentheses. While I was at dinner with Andy Bernstein, who really, really wants you to get out there and vote. In fact, it's his whole raison d'etre is for you to do so. I got this text saying, "Hey, are you around on Wednesday and Thursday to play guitar in the 8G band on Late Night with Seth Meyers?" And I stared into the abyss for a moment, realized that I was, but thought about just how facile am I on the guitar these days, Isaac, so I'll tell you, fine listeners, I'm going to open up to you right now. I started on guitar. Guitar was the first thing. Bass was introduced rather quickly thereafter, and I sort of played both in tandem from when I was 13 till, honestly, I did, I was playing guitar in 3 bands going nowhere and bass in 4 bands going nowhere for a very long time, right? Then I turned 22, and at the age of 22, I joined Marco Benevento's band. That is when I really kind of, chose bass. You know what I mean? But before that, I was playing quite a bit of guitar. I will tell you, I write quite a bit on guitar. I will also tell you, I don't really know what I'm doing after we get past these 4 strings, Isaac. It's a difficult thing. I play a lot by ear. I like what sounds good to me. And I have a very, kind of easy way of, playing guitar in that way, and writing parts is very cathartic and a thing I like to do. Having said that, I have not played a guitar gig in quite some time. And now on Wednesday and Thursday, I will do it on television in front of the entire country. So that's interesting, and I'm doing it.
I have all the confidence in the world that you're going to do a great job.
Thank you, pal. Thank you.
As someone who watched you play guitar for a long time.
Sure. I'll do just fine. I'm no Steve Vai, guys. You're not going to be like, oh my God, you know who Karina really reminds me of? Steve Vai. No. You're not going to say that.
Well, that's, I think, for the best.
I think it is for the best. Thank you, Isaac. I'm looking forward to it when we hit the record button to stop this podcast at the very end. I am going to feverishly practice until the wee hours of the night, and it's going to be an excellent thing that hopefully puts my mind at rest, and I hope I do a great job for you guys. By the time this episode comes out, I will have one episode behind me, so if you're listening to this on Thursday, you can see me one more time, baby, on Thursday night, Late Night with Seth Meyers on NBC. It's always a trip to go to 30 Rockefeller Center and go to NBC studios, and you feel like you're on SNL or in an episode of 30 Rock or whatever.
And honestly, there was a good omen for this event at your gig, Freaks Day Out on Sunday. Miss Katie Turr, news anchor and iconic Fish fan, was in attendance at your gig, whether by happenstance because she was walking through the park with her children or on purpose because she was coming to be a representative of the Freaks and rep it for you. We're not so sure, but she was there. I saw her with my own two eyes, and she was definitely grooving to the music.
You see, the connection between music and television was very strong throughout the weekend. Very good point, Isaac. And here we are, just sort of saying yes to things without thinking about them. Just kidding. Just kidding. I thought long and hard before I said, yes, I can do this gig on guitar. And by the way, I'm going to fucking nail it. It's going to be great. It's going to be super great. And just a little nervous. You know, you're just a little nervous before these things. It happens. It's part of being human. So
I think you're playing it off great. I don't think the listeners have any idea.
Thank you. Thanks, listeners. Catch me on television. It's one of the stranger things that I get up to these days. And I'm looking forward to that. And then, Isaac, we've done a lot here today, but we do have a great celebratory piece of Jamband news. Do you want to tell the people what the hell we're talking about?
Yes. Mo, the band Mo from Buffalo, New York, classic 90s, early 2000s jam band, still at it making music, played a run in Boulder, Colorado this past weekend. And before the encore, I guess, of the last night, they announced that Chuck Garvey, this is a piece of news.
It sure is.
Chuck Garvey, the guitar player who had a stroke about a year ago, is going to be returning to the stage with the band this New Year's Eve at the Fillmore in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and we could not be more delighted.
This is incredible news. That was a real shot in the heart for the whole community, and, you know, Mo has gone through quite a bit in the last little bit, along with Rob, the bass player, had a cancer diagnosis not that long ago. He beat it. He's good, but that was horrible. And then to see, you know, their brother in fighting arms, Chuck, suffer a stroke that left him having to regain motor skills and really, really horrible stuff, you know, be well enough now to know that on New Year's he's going to be good to go to join his band of brothers, the same dudes for so long, you know. It's an emotional, beautiful thing.
No doubt. And this is a band that you and I both love. You've played with a number of times, and you know, they really kind of helped define the jam band aesthetic and sound, and, you know, have been such a staple on the scene for jam music and for live music and for festivals, and responsible for the Modown and for summer camp. And, you know, I don't know. I have not seen them in a while because of a lot of different reasons, but I do really hope that they'll be back out on the road with Chuck, who is a phenomenal guitar player, next year.
Couldn't agree more. Phenomenal guitar player, phenomenal guy. The interplay between him and Al, particularly, like, you know, that's interplay that you get out of a 30-year career, which they've had, and an incredible one. And the last thing I'll say about, you know, the songwriting in Mo specifically, like there are songs, like real songs, like if they didn't jam for even a second, I would be like, oh yeah, like I don't know, I'm thinking of Plane Crash, I'm thinking of Nebraska, thinking of 32 Things, that has a really long jam section in the middle, sorry, but still thinking about it, she sends me like so many incredible songs that are just good old American rock songs. That
I don't think you even like my favorite Mo songs you didn't even name. And
you see?
Like, like Timmy Tucker,
oh.
Time Ed.
Time at Okay All Right is a classic song. Like, I mean, the first bunch of... How about New York City, I'm Coming Home Again? Like, that is what we are talking about. I'm a huge fan, and those guys have been so kind to me in my short career, and I've played Motown, and I've opened for them, and I've done, I don't know, I've done Everyone Orchestras with Alan Vinny, and they've just been so kind to me, and they're just such a wonderful group of people that are really inspiring, honestly, to see the same group of guys over so many years keep it together and keep putting out records and keep touring. We're always joking, right? We're like sometimes go to the Mo show and it's just like, oh my God, like what song is this? And you're like, oh, it's off their 2007 record, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh shit, like I missed that. And the 4 records that fought, like it's just so much material, and it's a really amazing thing. We love them. We love you, Chuck. And for the record, the band Eggy that is gaining traction on the scene and are sounding really excellent and are a wonderful group of guys are opening for that what'll be a very sentimental and emotional night for Mo the band to get back at it with Chuck at the Fillmore. So that is super great. Mazel tov, guys. And I hope, I won't be there. I have a gig elsewhere, but man, everybody who does end up there, it's going to be a real vibe in the house. It's going to be a real beautiful thing, and we just had to mention it. So yay, Chuck. Stay strong. Come back strong. We love you, brother. Can't wait to hear your guitar playing again.
And you're also welcome on the podcast to free associate with us anytime.
Anytime. We'll ask you things like chair or open pasture or toothpaste or stapler, and he'll be like, what the fuck are you guys talking about?
On that note, our show is produced by Marlo Shankweiler, also Osiris Media, RJB. We love you. We hope you're having a delicious dinner tonight.
I hope your dinner is so good. We wish we could be there, and we look forward to the time when we can all break the bread as a true 3-piece.
We'll be recording a very special bonus episode of Inappropriate Happiness soon.
You don't even know, guys. Shit is about to be absolutely crazy with the bonus episode. Isaac and I are pulling out all the stops. You won't even know what hits you. Get hype. And then, guess what? You have something else to look forward to next week when we tell you what the true, or rather what the lie was in 2 Truths and a Lie. It's going to be really fantastic. So think about it. Just think about Isaac at dinner with Warren Haynes. And we love you very much. Thank you for tuning in to this Oddball Free Associative episode where we could wax poetic about all kinds of...
Osiris.